Have you ever pet a baby kangaroo on the head just to feel something? Have you ever felt the urge to donate money to a Wikipedia fundraiser? Have you ever rode around on a stick horse acting like you were in the Kentucky Derby? Well, if you have, then you might be out of touch. Welcome in. This is Out of Touch episode 2. What do y'all think of that? I see a lot of cringing faces.
Caught me very off guard, but I like it.
A little cold open. I took references from last week's episode, and they didn't know I was going to do it. But the faces, if you're watching on the YouTube version of the show, specifically Dustin's face, he looked very surprised that those words came out of my mouth.
I did not know where you were going to go with that. And do you know what else I noticed is that Mitchell and I, despite coming together last week, have been outvoted somehow in the intro.
We said we were gonna do one week and then switch it off and see what we like better.
I think you said that.
I did, and I make the decisions.
Yeah, it's nice to make all the decisions. Be the one doing all the audio.
We'll do the beachy sounding intro next week. And honestly, if I get outvoted after it, then we'll let it be. We'll go with the beachy intro.
I like it. Okay.
So yeah, this is Out of Touch. My name is John Alden. With me, as always, Dustin Schutte. And man, I already forgot how I was going to introduce Mitchell, but just regular guy Mitchell Page. He doesn't like to be
the man in control of his ball.
That's right, the man in control of his ball, Mitchell Page. He was out at the driving range today, and evidently is in the greatest control of his driving range career.
Yeah, I can't even lie. Things are good. And you know when things are good and you just have to embrace and sometimes take a look around because it doesn't stay like that for very long. That's what I felt like. It was a beautiful sunset over the trees. It's just hitting shot after shot after shot. And I know it's going to go away. So I had to live a little in the moment. That's why I was a little bit late tonight. I apologize.
Well, that's okay. And he was also eating apparently a really disgusting salad right before we started recording from the place called Parker's Kitchen, he said.
Yeah, I had never been a gas station food guy, and I continue to not be a gas station food guy, is what I've learned. It just, I probably shouldn't have bought it, and this is probably a little too much information. Hopefully you're not eating when you're listening. I should have bought it before I went to the driving range. If you know anything about the South Carolina heat, the end of August, it's serious. Yep. So it was warm, and I think that may have had something to do with why it didn't taste very good.
The salad was warm?
Yeah, I mean, the salad was hot. Not even warm. It was just hot. My car was 1,000 degrees when I got back in it, and the salad was just sitting in there.
Oh my
Ranch was hot. Yeah, all bad.
I can't believe you ate it.
I'm hungry.
So, time out, though. You got the salad before you went to the driving range, and it sat in your car. Is that what did I interpret that?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. I needed gas, so I had to stop before. I was already there. I wasn't going to stop again, but then I did stop again anyways because I knew this wasn't going to taste very good and got chicken filet.
Oh, well, there you go. So you made up for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know, I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you. Everyone at Chick-fil-A, they're so nice all the time, right?
Yep.
Well, I can't imagine that the two high school kids that were working at 9:15 on a Thursday night in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru in the 100-degree heat were in the best mood. And I pulled up, and it's one of the 2-lane ones. The light's on so I can clearly see them. And when I pull up, they both looked at me, rock, paper, scissored, and the person that lost acted like it was the end of the world. So I don't know if it was because of me or they just didn't want to work, but they looked directly at me, rock, paper, scissors for who had to come over, and the person that lost acted like it was just the chore of the day.
Did you ask him if that's why he had to take your order?
Yes, I did. And they said, yes, I did not want to do this, which I respected.
I feel like if you would have recorded that with your phone, you probably could have got some free Chick-fil-A out of that.
Ooh,
absolutely. I said, that's not very Chick-fil-A like. And he said, I know, but it's 9:15. I'm tired.
You could have been like, I could tell this wasn't your pleasure.
Yeah.
You know,
See, if I was funny, that's the stuff I would say. And that's such a dad joke. That's like right
know.
down my alley.
And I'm the youngest of between all three of us, and I'm the one cracking the dad jokes.
Yeah.
I had a. This wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as getting, eyes rolled at while you're trying to order your dinner at 9:15. But I did have an experience when I stopped in Atlanta a few weeks ago, and my brother and I went to this restaurant. It was like a bourbon bar place, but we went at like 4:30, and we had no intention of getting beverages. We were just like, it's hot outside. We were just, so we were going to get iced tea. That's what you get in the South, right? Usually sweet tea, but I don't care for sweet tea, so I got an iced tea.
Okay.
The waitress, when she took our drink order and I ordered an iced tea, she came over. She was very peppy. She was very excited to be doing her job. And then I ordered an iced tea. My brother ordered a lemonade. Yeah. And the amount of excitement that exited her face because she knew that was going to cut her tip into like a fourth.
Oh.
Yep.
But I'm a good tipper, so I made up the difference. She still got a good tip, but you can just tell. She's like, wow, instead of them spending $20 on drinks, they're going to spend $4 on drinks.
I was going to say, because the first one, if you're ordering an adult beverage, turns into the fifth one pretty quick.
Exactly. Yes.
Can you hear that? Can you hear
what? Yeah, Frank, so for those of you who don't know, Mitchell has a special guest with us tonight. It is his dog, Frank.
Yeah, he had to go.
1.5-year-old Australian Shepherd mixed with a
Border Collie. And Coyote. Yeah.
Coyote and rat as well. Yeah. A little touch of coyote and rat.
He's just like his dad. Got a little rat in there. But I had to put him outside because he decided that it was playtime. It's always playtime in Frank's world. But he's chewing on a water bottle out there.
Oh, nice.
That I don't know how he got. So if you can hear the crunching, just tell me, and
I can't hear it.
Okay, good.
I can't either.
Okay, good. It's allowed.
So if you're listening to this when we release it, it is August 9th, Wednesday, August 9th. But a couple weeks ago, or in the present time, I guess it's a little time travel. Time travel. Dustin Shute.
That was good. That was good soundbite. If I had a time machine, I'd want it to sound exactly like that.
Exactly like that. We'd be having the time of our lives on that time machine.
No kidding.
No way.
Dustin Shute has been. Would you say you'd gone minorly viral over the past couple of days with some of your questions at Big Ten Media Days?
I mean, I don't want to sound like a big deal, but I've kind of been a big deal. And the only reason I say that, this is humble brag and pat myself on the back. But I asked some unique questions at Big Ten Media Days, and Big Ten Network tagged me on Instagram, on Twitter, and shared those videos. And they ran a clip of the highlights from Big Ten Media Days, and the only two clips from the podium were from my questions. Like the coaches that were highlighted were from my questions. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of a minor celebrity in the Midwest again.
That's right. This is just for those of you who missed it, and you may be able to add whichever ones I'm forgetting. The first one you did, you asked Illinois coach Brett Bielema if he had taken his daughters to see the Barbie movie. And Mitchell, did you know he had asked these obscure questions? Had you seen? I
saw the first one. I have not seen the other ones. I saw that question, and I was proud of you.
So I asked
a little smile in the middle of the day.
I asked 6 questions. The only one every time I go to Big Ten Media Days, which this was my 5th, I think, I'm nervous the very first time I get the microphone. Every time, every year, the very first time I get the microphone, you can hear a little quiver in my voice, get a little nervous. Then after that, smooth sailing. I'm in mid-season form by the second question. So I asked 6 questions. 3 of them had to do with food. I asked James Franklin and Penn State shared a photo from them at St. Elmo's. I had to ask about the shrimp cocktail. Ryan Walters, the new head coach at Purdue, there's a restaurant there called Triple X where there's a famous peanut butter burger. I asked him if he had tried it. He has not. And then I also asked Matt Rule, the new head coach at Nebraska. A big thing in Nebraska is to eat chili with cinnamon rolls. I asked if he's a chili and cinnamon roll guy. So those were the 3 food questions. I obviously asked the Barbie question to Brett Bielema. And then I asked just 2 actual football questions, one to Greg Schiano and then one to Mike Loxley.
So
Who's Mike
I know
Loxley?
you've probably talked about
Maryland?
this a million times.
Maryland, yeah.
Yeah, he's the Maryland head
Sorry.
coach.
Sorry.
But the chili and cinnamon rolls.
Yes.
Do we want to get into that? First of all, is there an official name for that, or is it just called chili and cinnamon rolls?
Chili and cinnamon rolls, yeah. That's all. I mean, I don't know that
Do
there's
you
an
know
actual
where it
name.
originated from? I knew it was a big Nebraska thing, but I always thought it was gross.
I I don't know where it originated. So I don't know if this is now Mitchell's going to be the only one that can maybe validate this. So growing up in Indiana, for me, I always had a peanut butter sandwich with chili. Did you ever do that?
No. I never really – the only chili that I ever ate was at my grandma's house, and I think it was unique that she put noodles in it, but that's really the only thing that we did.
Okay. So that's not chili, that's goulash. Sorry to Mitchell's grandmother. But
I'm not going to be in any chili cook-offs in the near future, so don't worry. You're not insulting anyone.
I think there are in different parts of the Midwest, like there's different things you eat with chili, like peanut butter sandwich, I think cornbread, and I think cinnamon rolls is a Nebraska, maybe also an Iowa thing. I don't know, but I know it's a huge thing in Nebraska. Don't know where it originated, don't know how it originated, but it's like that combination of sweet and salty. Like another one that's unique is Wendy's French fries. Have you ever seen people dip Wendy's
And the
French
Frosties.
fries in the Frosty? Yeah, gross.
I've seen that, but that
You're
sounds
crazy.
way...
It's so delicious.
It's not. Oh, it's so bad.
So you're a fan of that, Mitchell.
Yes, because I'm a normal human.
It definitely seems a lot more, I don't want to say normal, but a lot more palatable than chili and cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. Is the chili spicy?
Yeah. So I think there's a method to it. So some people will, almost nobody pours the chili over the cinnamon roll. So it's not like it's a
That would be like a serial killer. You eat them
Right.
You have to eat them separate.
Yeah. So people dip it. They'll dip the cinnamon roll in the chili and eat it.
Okay.
Okay, that's
And
better.
by the way,
I'd be interested. I would try it. It's 2 things that I like.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Now I understand why people like it because again, it's that sweet, like kind of like a sweet heat type deal.
Yeah,
But I don't know. Have you ever had Skyline chili?
yeah.
Okay, to me, it tastes like Skyline chili, and that's the problem. I don't like Skyline. Like, I don't like that cinnamon flavor in the chili. But if you like Skyline, you're probably going to like chili and cinnamon rolls.
That's funny. That's actually exactly what I was thinking of when you're describing this. And I like Skyline chili.
So then
so
you
here's
probably love it.
the origin.
Yeah.
This is the apparent origin story of chili and cinnamon rolls, according to an article from the Des Moines Register. The pairing dates back to the 1960s and was born in school lunchrooms, thought to be a product of budget and ordering limitations. Iowa historians theorize that the combination was born from a need to come up with meals that were cost-effective and appealing to students.
So it's really not that old. 1960s, we're talking like 60 years.
Yeah, it sounds more like something that would have been concocted during the Great Depression or something.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, something around that time frame where you were just kind of scrambling to put things together as a meal. But 1960s, okay.
And apparently it was, and there's a lot of different states in the Midwest that apparently claim it as having the original version of chili and cinnamon rolls, but
Is
this
Kansas
one is
one?
saying that it was from Iowa.
Okay.
So
Who
why
else
is Nebraska? So would our friend Jeffrey the Greek, would he know anything about? Is he a fan of chili and cinnamon rolls?
That's a good question. I think he is, but I don't quote me on that. I know we've
We may
had the
have to get
conversation.
Jeffrey the
but I
Greek
don't-
here on someday.
Yeah,
For those
I
of
don't
you-
remember.
Football fans or Big Ten football fans, I'm sure you're familiar with the Eyes on Big podcast. Probably the best Big Ten specific football, I should say, podcast that there is. And I'm not trying to lick his chain or whatever you call it. That's not even a real term, is it? I just combined yanking your chain. Is
Tell me
yanking
more
the
about
chain the
that.
term I was looking for?
Tell me more about that.
I feel like
Is it yanking your chain?
Yanking
your chain is like you're pulling a fast one.
Right.
Or like,
See, I think I just combining like licking your ass and yanking your chain.
I don't like.
But then that
John,
changes
John,
kiss your
no,
ass.
no. Before we dig ourselves a deeper hole here, we're gonna hit
That's
reverse.
what we do here on Out of Touch. We dig holes.
Yeah,
that were never meant to be dug.
Why was that
As
phrase
Dustin
in your
completely
head?
loses it.
That phrase just doesn't even. It does not apply.
None of what John was trying to explain makes any sense.
No.
I was trying to give Mr. Jeffrey the Greek a compliment about his podcast, and at the same time was trying to not make it seem like it was me trying to just, do it for the hell of it, just trying to butter him up, kind of thing.
Why didn't
That would have
you
been
just say butter him up was the perfect one?
Because it just now came into my head.
Hey, you nailed it. We'll just cut that other part and just use that one.
Why do we cut it though? There's no need to cut it.
I think we got to keep licking the chain in here.
Yeah, licking the chain. That may be, if we title the episodes, that may even be the title of this one, licking the chain or lick the chain or something.
People can run wild with their imaginations on what they think that means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it takes you in a bad place pretty quick, I would guess.
Where do we go from here, man? Okay, so one thing I did this past weekend, I redid. I love how we're just
I'm not
jumping
going to stop
into it.
laughing. You're just going to have to keep going because I'm not going to stop laughing at this.
And you may continue to laugh. So my wife and I, along with some of our in-laws, they came over and helped us kind of re-landscape our yard. And it was an all-day event kind of thing. We did a lot of just kind of piecing things together and pulling weeds and just doing a lot of things to make the house look good. And I'd cut the grass earlier in the day too. But the next day, or excuse me, in that evening when I got home from something I went to do, I noticed that I forgot to cut part of the yard that was next to I don't even know what you call them, the little power things that stick up from the ground. You know what those are called? I don't know what they're called. But I was so determined to make the yard look as good as it could look because of all we did that day, that because the light was going down, because it was basically sunset, I went over to the patch of grass that wasn't cut and started pulling the grass out of the ground to make it look like the rest of the yard.
That's dedication. I don't know whether that's insanity or dedication.
Yeah, I was just curious if that was stupid. I mean, I definitely think it was unnecessary, but I felt like I needed to do it.
It was
Yeah,
unnecessary.
why didn't you just get the lawnmower?
But I didn't want. That's the thing. I got home. It was dark. I didn't want to go into the shed.
Why
I
did
just
you
saw
not...
the patch of grass in the front yard. I said, I'm doing this now, and I'm going to do it quickly.
Now,
Yeah.
Okay, so the patch of grass, like, did it have to be the same height, or did you just pull everything out from the root?
No, I just tried to
Does grass even have root?
I think it
Is there a
does,
grass root?
maybe, but either way,
That's a phrase.
I noticed. I mean, it didn't look very good, but it looked better than it did, at least sort of. But
My question is, though, why didn't you grab scissors? I feel like that would have even been better.
imagine if people saw me outside with scissors. That would have been funny, though.
Yeah,
Well, you were pulling it out with your hand. So how?
Yep.
Yeah,
The whole time I was
more
just thinking, I hope to
concerned-
God my neighbors aren't watching, looking out their window. Like, what is
I'd
this
be
idiot
concerned
doing?
what it looked like in the following morning. Like it solved it when it was dark,
Yeah.
but then you go out there and then there's just a hole in the ground.
Well, that the way you describe it makes it look worse than actually. There's no hole. There's no hole, but there is just random parts that were pulled up by my bare hands, but
Holes.
holes. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Okay. That was a very like old man story.
Yes.
Right.
So okay. So on the afternoon show that I do with my guy Nick Coffey in Louisville, Kentucky, I'm kind of known as the guy who, like, I don't act like someone my age, and that's not because I'm wiser. It's just because I do things that people who are in their 40s do, or more like they're worried about their yard and that kind of crap. And so, doing that kind of thing, it is like no one my age should be that worried about their yard if they're pulling up grass on their own. I guess is what I'm getting at.
Look, my best friend for, since 8th grade. He's my age, obviously. 35, is obsessed with mowing his lawn. I mean, like he looks forward to gets his cooler packed, gets his podcast downloaded.
Oh, that's like an event for him. Okay.
He loves it. He loves it. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's a homeowner thing. Like
Yeah.
I have lived in apartments pretty much my entire adult life. So I haven't had to mow a lawn. I haven't had to trim any grass or anything like that in a long time. Since I was in like probably college when I lived in a house. So I just don't have that obsession. But if I had a house, maybe I would. I don't know. I mean, Mitchell, do you live in an apartment or a house? Like, is lawn care a big part of your life?
No, I'm in an apartment for now. When we move to Charlotte, might be in a house, so might have to start taking some notes from John and pull up all my grass. But I used to everybody had a kid in their neighborhood. I felt like there was a young entrepreneur, was cutting all the grass, weed eating, poop scooping, whatever he was doing, making all the money. And I took some inspiration. I was like, I can do that. If he can do it, I can do it. So I started with the neighbor next door, paid me $20 or whatever to cut their grass. First of all, huge yard. $20, not even close to enough. But I would try to just get it done as fast as possible. And thinking back, like I should have had to pay them for how bad I was at cutting that grass. Like I would never, if I missed a spot, that spot was it was gone. Move on. They can't get it, can't fix it. Just keep on mowing. And I would always try to get, you know how you're supposed to overlap like the wheel so you make sure that you get all of it? I would put the wheel marks right on each other. So I would always miss just random blades right as I was like right on where the wheels were. I haven't thought about that in forever, but I had to be the worst. Like I have to pay someone to do my lawn. I hopefully I'll be better now, but
were you using a push mower or a riding mower?
Push mower.
There you go.
And it didn't have the auto spinning wheels, so I'm just out there like pushing this mower, getting madder and madder. Yeah, and for $20, whatever. I was really bad at that. That was my first job. I was terrible at it.
My first job was McDonald's. Whoop-de-doo. I applied at so many fast food. I applied it like legitimately. So off the exit that I grew up at in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, is one of the most. I think it used to be. I don't know if they have this world record anymore, but it used to hold the world record for the most restaurants within a square mile. And ooh. I didn't apply at all of them, but I applied at a good majority of them. And maybe just because it was McDonald's and they're probably always hiring, but McDonald's was the first place to offer me anything. And so I worked at McDonald's for 2 years in high school.
How was that?
You know, it was better than I would have expected it. I even go back to that McDonald's. Like if I ever go to McDonald's, it's a good one because it's always been ran well compared to some that you might be familiar with.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's ever a middle of the road McDonald's. There's some like Wendy's is very uniform. It's never the best, but it's also never really the worst.
Yeah, I agree.
You always gotta know what you're gonna get. Versus Chick-fil-A, pretty much all of them are about as top quality as it's going to be. With McDonald's, you can get one that's really nice and perfect, and the shake machine always works. Or there is somebody that's fighting in the lobby. Like that is the only two sides of that equation.
Dustin, where was your first job?
Gosh, I don't really remember. So I had some jobs where I actually did like lawn care, like worked for a, landscaping company. I worked as a tennis, because I played tennis in college at a Division III school. So I did like tennis lessons and ran a tennis camp in the summer. So those were probably the first two jobs I had. And then in college, I worked as a appetizer cook in the back of a local bar restaurant place.
I didn't know you played tennis in college.
I did. I was not very good, nor were we very good.
I'm just starting to learn tennis right now.
I have not picked up a racket since I stopped playing. So here's the thing. I don't know if this is a thing among athletes or not. As soon as I was done with tennis in college, I never wanted to see a racket again. Because you play with other sports, it's constant, right? When you're in season, then when you're not in season, you're training. Then we had fall, which is you went through spring football. We had fall tennis. And then in the winter, you're going back to conditioning. So the last thing I have maybe played one time in the last, say, graduated 2010, so 13, 14 years.
That's crazy. I definitely understand that. I know I was lucky. I got to have some pretty cool opportunities for football, but the love of the game, playing it, was gone long before I graduated. It was.
Oh, wow.
It was more of a job. Not like you love to play the games, but your motives change. There's nothing that's as pure as playing a sport in high school, football in particular, running out under the lights in front of your friends. It's easy. They're practice is whatever. And I was lucky. I went to a high school. I barely even tied my shoes for practice. So my experience may have been a little different than some other people, but it just was you played because you loved it and your friends played it. And it was just a lot of fun to be out there. And there's no better feeling than scoring a touchdown on Friday night. I don't care. I'll put it up against anything. But in college, you're exactly right, Dustin. The repetition and structure of every day and knowing that there's some sacrifices that are involved. I was fine with those sacrifices. I probably wouldn't have had any friends anyways. So I was basically just paying to have friends. But it just becomes a job. And the people that are successful embrace that the motives change. And I think that that's something that's hard for a lot of especially younger players in college. I don't care what sport you're playing. The motive changes. No one really is doing it because they love it. And if they say they're doing it because they love it, they're lying. You still love it, but that's not the main reason that you're doing it. My reason was I wanted to prove everybody that said I couldn't do it wrong. I've still got a list of those people. And then it eventually changes to, well, I've been here so long and I'm confident in what I can do. Let's see if I can actually do it. And then it became proving to myself that I could actually do it. And I think that that's a really interesting transition that you don't really see happening in real time. But once you've gotten through it, you're able to look back and say, well, I can actually remember the day that okay, this isn't going to be just fun anymore. There's some responsibility here. And that's why I think there's a lot of kids that are super at football. I think is more so than any other sport. And when I think about this transition, because it is so much faster and so much more physical, and there are guys literally trying to take your head off every play. The guys that are super gifted, really athletic, and everybody tells them how great they are, the vast majority of those guys never make it because they were playing because everybody thought they were good. Everybody told them how great they were. They thought they were great, and they love doing it. They love feeling like that. And then college, you get hit in the face one time, and they don't think you're as great anymore. If you can't make that transition to realize, okay, this is a job, I need to change the way I'm thinking about things. I need to prepare as if this is a sales job or I'm running a company, my own company. If you're not able to do that, no way you'll succeed. And that's why you see so many of these 4 or 5-star, maybe not 5-star, but 3 and 4-star players that are here today, gone tomorrow. And I think that's probably true in all sports.
I mean, when you mentioned the 4 or 5-star guys, I remember specifically Gunnar Kiel, really big name out of high school. And I don't want to say he did amount to nothing, but he definitely didn't have much of a college career.
Okay,
Yeah.
but see, this is to the point where I don't want to say I'm angry about it because that's an over exaggeration, but it does bother me a little bit when they like the star rankings and stuff that we have for these websites.
Brutal.
Like, it's
brutal.
It puts usually you have a bunch of guys who know nothing about what they're looking at, who are ranking a kid based on the level of competition. Well, I do trust that some of these guys know what they're talking about, and a lot of times, like the 5-star kids, those are easy to evaluate, right? When they're head and shoulders above everybody else, that's pretty easy to tell. But when you get down to these 3 and 4-star guys, you just create a level of expectation. You don't know the mindset. You don't know the family background. You don't know the demographic. You don't know the situation. And so it creates a level of expectation where, it takes somebody like Mitchell's mindset. Like he was going to get it done. He was going to play at Indiana, get on the field, work his ass off to get on the field. Whereas if you've got somebody who's a 4-star kid who's just been told he's good all of his life, then he gets, like Mitchell said, you get to the big time and you get hit in the face and you just want to pack your lunch up. You never know how this is going to go. So that's like, I just feel like the star ranking system creates such an unbalanced level of expectation. That's some kids live up to it, but a lot of times they also don't.
I think this, and since we're on football, I'm just going to stay on football because that's what I know the best. But there's so many kids. No way you can watch tape on every player at every school. I would be curious how many coaches, and they probably wouldn't admit to this. They would say, "Oh, I watched every tape. I watched every game. Every time he touched the ball, blah, 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 whatever." How many coaches look at a player that just got offered by Penn State, and if I'm Auburn, okay, that's about a similar level. I'm going to call him and offer him too. I know nothing about him. He's from Georgia, from the South. If Penn State's trying to get him, I need to get him. And I'd be curious. And then all of a sudden, Penn State and Auburn offered, and now Alabama sees that Auburn offered. Now they got an offer, and all of a sudden that kid has 50 offers, and maybe 5 of the schools even watch the tape. It's just such an inexact science. At everything, everybody was their best player at their high school and college. And when you start to think about that, the kids that you talk about mindset, I don't care if it's tennis, swimming, football, basketball, whatever it is, the kids that want to be the best player just to be the best player and don't want to just sit back, those are the ones that are going to succeed. And, I mean, you were just at Media Days. Indiana's worried about paying all these big-time recruits. That's great. You're never going to compete with them. You got to find the guys that don't have a zillion offers that maybe think a little bit different. And this is an Indiana podcast anymore because I couldn't take it if it was. But you just have to start doing things different. And I think that goes with college sports, all kinds of. I mean, I know when I was getting out of school, you guys probably felt this. Job interviews. Like I still have never talked about what I studied in college in a job interview, not once. Not once. My current employer has no clue what I majored in.
Wow.
No clue.
Yeah, it's weird because I've been told this before, and maybe, and I really don't know if this is a case study or not or whatever, but apparently that's a lot more common than people's, I guess, might think it is to go into something that's completely not related to their major. Whereas I pretty much dove right into this world of radio and broadcasting and whatever the hell you want to call it right after college because I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't know how great I was going to be at it, and I may be completely awful at it. We're going to find out. But I know that it's fun, and I know I like doing it, and I know I like getting to come on to things like this and other radio shows and get to cut up about anything. And that's why I don't like putting us into a specific lane like we used to be with football. I think it's fun to be able to just share our opinions and thoughts on some of the most wacky things you can think of. And that may be a lame term to use, but who cares?
It was
Wacky.
a lame term.
Wild and wacky stuff. What is that from? I know Jim says that all the time. Is
Yeah,
that from
that's
a
the first
specific
person
thing?
I thought of. He's the first person I thought of when you did that.
Man.
That was a quick face change. He laughed for a second, then let it sink in, like what that means. He's like, oof. All right, changing topics.
Back to it.
One other thing I want to mention that I was mentioning before we got started. Dustin, a few weeks ago, told us that he was attending a kickboxing class. And I'm just curious how that's going and if he's still doing it.
I may have been misleading everybody when I said I was taking a kickboxing quote-unquote class. Because in reality, it's a kickboxing workout.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
you said a class.
I did say a class as if I would be getting taught to kick people in the face. Not so much.
That's what you said.
Instead, I get to kick and punch a, what do you call those things? Punching bag. Lost the term for punching bag.
Yeah, we're going to let you get that one.
And
Okay.
then the other one. So
is this at like a kickboxing gym?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a class. I don't necessarily need you fighting anybody. You can't be coming on here with a black eye.
Yeah, well,
But you're learning the movements.
I'm learning the movements. It's a great like full body workout, and it's something that works all of your muscles without having to lift. Well, I lift weights anyway. I work out, but but it's just something it's something different. It keeps me in shape, and I've always, for whatever reason, at my height of 5'8" and like 160 pounds, I've always wanted to learn how to box. I just think it would be fun. Like, I don't want to fight anybody. I just want to know the movements. I just want to be able to look good on a speed bag. And I don't know. So it was not cheap, but not overly expensive for like 10 sessions. So I signed up for 10 sessions. And I've got, because the first one's free, so I've got 9 left. So I'm trying to do 1 to 2 per week.
I like it. Do y'all listen to Jocko Willink at all? That reminds me of him.
I don't even know who that is.
He's like some former Navy SEAL motivational guy. He reminds me, did you guys ever, did Kevin Wilson ever talk about the program in the media? The Navy SEALs that would come in and do team building exercises with us?
I didn't know that.
I feel like I remember it, but I don't remember it well.
I remember you mentioning that. Wasn't he I could be totally wrong about this, but didn't he bring like a professional wrestler in one time or something like that?
Oh no, that was Bob Ross, I think. Not Bob Ross. Jim Ross. Bob Ross is an artist.
Wait, yeah, you guys learned from Bob Ross. No, I would like to get the mental image here of the IU football team learning how to paint watercolors from Bob Ross.
That would have been the best day of my life.
It would have been awesome.
Muncie, shout out Muncie, Indiana. But no, he brought Jim Ross, who was I don't know, he was the announcer for the WWF or something.
Yep, WWE. WWE's Raw.
He was specific. Yeah, him and Kevin Wilson are like best friends. So he would come to practice a bunch, and I didn't really watch wrestling, so it wasn't that cool to me, but there was people on the team that were losing their mind. Like, it was the coolest thing ever. But the program, they go all around the country doing this. I think you can look them up. This is a free ad for them. Look them up on Instagram. They go to all these big college football teams. I think they've been to Oregon, Washington State, Texas A&M, LSU, all over the place. And they came to Indiana. I don't think they do that anymore. There's not a lot of LEO in their teaching, so they don't come to Indiana anymore. They are much more Kevin Wilson style. So they came, I think, every year that I was there. And they would come in the summer, and they would have all these different workouts, Navy SEAL training, basically. We one time went out to Lake Monroe. It was like 4 a.m., and it's still pretty chilly at 4 a.m. in the spring. So, because it was in the summer, it was spring workouts right before spring practice. So it was still pretty cold in the mornings, and we were down in the sand doing planks, burpees, getting sandy, carrying those big like inflatable boats. And I was always the small guy, so that was always the best for me because somebody had to be in the boat. And they'd put the lightest guy in there, so I just jumped right in that boat. That was big for me. But One time we went to the IU diving complex, and we went with hoodies and like a sweatsuit on, and it was like we're only as strong as our weakest link lesson, I guess. So we're standing in the dive pool, which is 18 feet deep or however, it's deeper than a person can stand. And there's some stereotypes, but there's some kids on the team that cannot swim. And when I say some kids, I mean the majority of the kids on the team could not swim. And we get there, they say, okay, jump in. So we jump in the pool with the hoodie, and what we're supposed to do is we have shorts on underneath, but take off the sweatpants, take off the hoodie, and then put it back on. And the trick to this is to get the hoodie off, you have to go underwater, take it off, and then come back up. And that makes it really easy. But if you don't know how to swim and it's 15 feet deep, that can be a pretty frightening endeavor. So we have people, like half the team is in the pool trying to take their hoodie off above water, and it's basically waterboarding them because they can't get it off. It's sticking to their face. Kenny Mullen, I'll never forget this. Kenny Mullen, I think he just gave up, and he starts sinking to the bottom. And he's just gone. I don't remember who exact, but 3 guys went down and saved him, picked him up, put him out of the pool, and then we just went in for round 2. It was awesome. Like, Kenny didn't go. He took a break, got in the water, maybe a little snack, but everybody else said we're only as strong as our weakest link. You got to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I think the funniest image, I didn't actually have to do this, but I was nervous that I was going to have to, like Ralph Green or something, standing right next or swimming right next to me. He starts going down. Like, I can't get this guy.
He'd probably carry the spittoon in with him.
If it would float, that would make it a lot easier for us. Yeah. But I don't know why that's what I just thought of, is Ralph Green and me trying to save him. But this whole reason for that story, Jocko Willink, you were talking about kickboxing. He's got this big obsession with jiu-jitsu. And I'd be curious, I don't know if it's similar. Is jiu-jitsu similar to kickboxing?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I don't know either.
I just know that that's what Conor McGregor does. Brazilian
he does jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I think people say that's the highest form of fighting or something. Like, if you're good at jiu-jitsu, you can just beat up anyone.
Huh.
I don't know. That's what Jocko says.
I can promise you I'm not going to beat up anybody. Like,
No.
I'm just
I could be black belt in all forms of fighting. I'm going to punch once and run away.
Yep.
If I get in a fight, throw the first punch and run away. And I was lucky. I was fast. You never going to catch me.
Okay, so this is the other thing I thought about. And I actually immediately thought of you, Mitchell. So
this could be good or bad.
At Big Ten Media, I feel like it's a compliment to you.
Okay.
I think. Let me think this one through. So at Big Ten Media Days, I'm going to throw out 2 names, Ben Hartsock and Joshua Perry. Joshua Perry was a linebacker at Ohio State.
I know Josh. He was on the Chargers with me.
Yeah, okay. And Ben Hartsock, who played at Ohio State, was a tight end. And I've talked to both of these guys online. I've done some radio shows with them, so I know these guys, but this was my first time meeting them. Mm-hmm. They are quite a bit larger than I am. Like, just shaking their hand, I'm like, I've got 2 broken fingers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how in the hell did Mitchell not die when he was playing football against these guys? Like, I don't understand how you survived, or how people, like, there are running backs that are under 6 feet tall. I have no idea. Like, Matt, going into the teeth of the defensive line, like, how do you not? I would be on the field for 1 play, and I would need an ambulance immediately.
Yeah, I mean, you say you're 5'8", 160.
Yeah.
So I think in the program it said 5'9", 175. That was so generous. I was 5'7" and 168-ish, maybe 170. So I was little. I was basically your size. And people think I'm lying and like laugh, when I say I would catch the ball and fall on the ground. No, I absolutely would catch the ball and fall on the ground. They're real life monsters. And did you see Aaron Casey today?
Yes.
He is enormous.
Yes.
That's the kind of guy that we need at Indiana. We haven't had those kind like Marcus Oliver was a big guy, but he wasn't super tall. Aaron Casey's 6'2" and just rocked up. Those are the kind of guys we need. But yeah, that was a little look into my life. And they're way bigger in pads and typically a lot more angry.
A lot more angry indeed. One thing I want to try to do as we wrap up each podcast episode, I don't know that we'll do it today unless you all could think of something on the fly.
Are you going to play me out again?
Well, yeah, we'll play you out again. But do I don't know if it was look up a top. We're not going to do this today anyway. We'll discuss this after the show. But I want to do something like a top 10 something, and just a good way to wrap up a light conversation. But either way, what are some final thoughts? I don't even know what was today's episode, other than the fact that we talked about licking a chain, digging holes.
We did not talk about licking a chain. You talked about licking a chain.
You couldn't figure out the term for buttering up, so you made up something.
That's right, buttering up.
Yeah.
So I combined two different phrases.
Yeah.
We were all over the place today. Maybe next week, maybe the week after, I'm not sure. We're going to get Mitchell's game day routine. I've been excited about this for a while because apparently it is a very elaborate ordeal, almost like a ritual.
It's gotten substantially less elaborate. That's that's an oxymoron. It's gotten a lot more fluid. There's not down to the minute. Like when I was in college playing, it was down to the minute. 8 minutes in the hot tub, 4 minutes in the cold, 3 minutes to warm back up. And then this was all set at this time before kick. Now it's just there's some certain things that I have to make sure I do before kick.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting. And then I had something else too. Oh, one thing I want to be able to do, and this may be a ways away. I want to be able to do a topic, have people call a voicemail line that I could set up and send us a topic that they want us to talk about, and just a way to get people involved. In podcasts where people do that, I always thought that was really fun. And
I love that.
A few interesting things.
Are we going to play this? Are we going to?
Oh yeah, we could definitely play the call over the air. That's
okay.
half the fun.
I was going to say because I feel like otherwise we could just do Twitter DM and that would be a lot easier. But.
And maybe we could start with that as we try to grow the audience, but as we start to figure out what kind of following this will get, I'm sure even if we just got a couple of calls.
I was going to say my mom's going to call like 6 times. So.
No, that'd be great. We'd love to hear from
At some point, we're all three just make the same call, and we'll just have to change our voices and do different.
Yeah, maybe we could start off with that. All three of us call. We don't say who it is.
There you
go.
Figure out.
I've got something to wrap it up, and I want your guys' opinion on this. I don't want to be long. I know we're right at time, but in like the last 2 weeks, what I do for work, I go into med spas, plastic surgery centers. Cosmetics, aesthetics, and typically it's females that are calling into these places. And a lot of times they're in salon suites, or it's not just its own brick and mortar establishment. It's a little bit harder to find. So I will have to call the office. And initially I would just use my hey, I'm Mitchell, I'm with this company. Where are you guys? I'm looking for you. And that would be met with oh no, another sales rep. So recently I've started to change my voice to make it sound like somebody else. So that way they don't think it was me that called them earlier. Is that weird? It feels weird every time I do it.
I'm sure it feels weird. I get it.
I think that's a good sales tactic. I like it.
Yeah. I find out my information and they don't think I'm calling them and then showing up to the door 2 minutes later.
I feel like if you adopted a Southern accent, it would get you in the door a lot more.
I would disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's hear Mitchell's Southern accent.
I don't even know where to start. I can't even give you any. I have nothing. I really
Justin,
can't.
do you have one?
I speak.
The
only thing I would start doing is singing a country song. That's like the
Yes,
only
I love
way
it.
I can
That's
get
where
into
my
that.
brain goes.
You know where my
Yeah.
brain goes is where that's you guys watch The Office, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the murder in Savannah when
Oh, there's
Oscar
been a murder.
when Oscar can't talk in a southern accent, he just has this high squeaky pitched voice. So imagine Mitchell over going, "We don't have enough greenbacks. We don't have enough greenbacks."
I wish I had that quote in front of me. I think one thing we should do.
Hold on, I gotta
we
make
should
a comment on this southern accent thing really quick because I don't know. This would be another Mitchell question. I don't think, John, you have it really. But for me, when I lived in Georgia, the more I was around it, the more I would say it. So there, in one specific example, was on the 4th of July a few years ago. I probably had one too many beers. Like I wasn't stumbling or anything, but I had enough to influence my decision making. And the barbecue place within walking distance of where I lived at the time, for their 4th of July celebration, they always had a whole hog and gator roast. And I walked up on the sidewalk, walked up to the steps of this establishment of this barbecue place, and just not shouted, but said very loudly, "Y'all cooking up that whole hog and gator?"
You said it like that, Gator.
Yes. But nobody batted because throughout the day, like where I lived, it was there was like a big happening for the 4th of July. So you're around a bunch of people who have a Southern drawl. And so I picked up on it and I walked up.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is like, if I did that in the Midwest, everybody would turn and look at me. No, I mean, everybody just kept going about their business. Oh yeah, that's the dude from Kennesaw.
You have to, we're going to leave with this. We were talking about Monday qualifying before and golf and all that, but this doesn't have anything to do with Monday qualifying, but there's a golfer that's Austrian. His name is Sepp Straka. Speaks fluent German, but he grew up in Georgia. So he's an Austrian with a Southern accent.
Wow.
And when you listen to him talk, he sounds like he's from Georgia. But then he can just transition into German immediately, and he's going to play for the European Ryder Cup team. But when he gives interviews, he's going to be speaking English with a Southern accent. You got to watch him talk. It is phenomenal.
That's hilarious.
It's phenomenal.
Well, I do the same thing. Especially, I think there's a certain mode in me when I'm doing anything that has to do with broadcasting. It feels like I don't force myself to do this, but I just know that there's a certain way to speak when you're on the air. And when I'm around family, like I'll say y'all and just any sort of, and it's weird. I live in an odd place. Like when you live in northern Kentucky / southern Indiana, you get a lot of southern and you get a lot of Midwestern folk in between. It's just kind of a weird mixture. And so you get a lot of different styles of southern accents, I guess. And so sometimes when I'm around the right kind of people, it feels like I'm more relaxed and I'll just start saying everything. I won't say sentences correctly. And it's an interesting sight. So Justin, I think that's pretty
I
accurate
feel like
what you're talking
with
about.
your deep voice, you could get off the rails pretty quick. Like you got cotton balls in your mouth.
What do you mean?
Like if you didn't enunciate your words, you enunciate very well. But with the depth of your voice, if you just started letting it go, you could just have one syllable for the entire
sentence. Right. I think you're probably right about that.
It would sound like John's voice is like he's running out of batteries.
Yes. You do a great job enunciating.
Running out of batteries. I'd love to hear what that sounds like.
Yeah.
Like you just would start, like I feel like you could start talking fast and then it just slow down. Like I don't even know how to do it. Hey, y'all ever been to that barbecue restaurant?
But it's really deep.
That's funny. I may have to think. Now I'll be more self-conscious seeing if that ever comes out of my vernacular.
No. It never has. Your voice is just so much deeper than mine. I talk like a first grader compared to you. And as a fact. So I was just thinking that, like, if you let it go, you were just at the family reunion talking to Grandpa. You could be sitting listening to that conversation, me sitting listening to that conversation, and I would have no clue what you guys are talking about.
And probably sit there. I wish I need to be able to read off something because I think I get what you're saying at this point. I need to make a scenario out of it. But
I don't mean it as like a diss.
No. I think it's hilarious.
You
I think it's hilarious.
The deepest voice, and if you let it go, it would just turn.
Just let it go. Bobby Renz, play us out. There it is, guys.
I like it.
The beach vibes.
This is the best one.
I love it.
We'll come into this next week.
Are you sure?
Thanks as always for do what?
Said you might overrule us. You never know.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just do different. We'll just find different intro music every week. Who knows?
Yep. Outruled again.
So there you go. This was another episode of Out of Touch. For myself, Dustin Schutte, and Mitchell Page, the man with complete ball control. We'll see you next time.